see the whole world shaking, and you feel your heart is breaking. Take my hand, no hesitating. Oh, when you're just so tired of trying, all alone you feel like hiding. Together we'll keep fighting. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feel it, we're taking the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Can you see the sun is shining like a new hope? Feel it rising, coming over the horizon. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feel it, we're taking the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. There's no stopping.
Good evening. Well, you'll be seeing this at 7 p.m. I'm recording a little bit earlier because I have some things to do this evening. It's about 1:30 now. So, but it's April 23rd. I'm Chris Gargiulo, associate broker for eXp Realty. This is Real Estate with Mr. G, where we talk about topics involving real estate and the economy. And of course, today we're talking about mortgages and about rates, and we'll talk about that. So we'll get into that shortly. It's a beautiful day, and hopefully we're finished with really, really cold weather. Okay, and it's going to be in the 70s and 80s now. And hopefully we could say right now goodbye to super cold weather. If you see behind me, you see ladders. We're having our bathrooms renovated. They're looking really, really good. Well, the one upstairs is looking really, really good. We're going to do the one downstairs as well, but it's nice. And we're not looking to sell. We just want to have a nice bathroom. I mean, we're in a great location by Buckrow Beach, and so much development is going on, and we just want to have a super duper nice home. But one thing I do want to talk about, just as a side note to our topic today, which will be the rising mortgage rates, but I have a house that is going hopefully close on Tuesday. I mean, it should close. Everything's going okay. It's a townhouse, and there's a scammer out there who's saying that the seller is no longer interested in in selling it. They want to rent it. And I'm getting calls from all over the place, emails, texts about when they could see it. And the biggest way of knowing that it's a scam, because this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, townhouse is attached. but they're saying it's for $800. There's no way in today's market that a 3-bedroom, 2 full bath will rent at $800. In the development that has a pool and a tennis court, no way. That's the giveaway right away that it's a scam. But I just got a call this morning from another agent, and they sent me this long letter from the scammer that uh, they wanted to rent it, and then that the agent was cheating them. It well, it was always a rental. It wasn't for sale, but this rental agent was cheating them. They weren't sending the full rent to the owner, and they used the owner's name, but they say in the text that this owner is a blind or a deaf man whose wife is dying with leukemia, and this goes on and on. It's like one of those scams that you get, like, I'm going to give you, $5 million, I'm dying and I want to spread my wealth. And it's such, I mean, I'm so surprised that an agent called me on it because the letter was so idiotic. But I guess they wanted just to check that it was, for sure that it wasn't available again for rent. There's a lot of scams out there. And what they want, and I had this happen before, not on one of my properties, but someone called me to check into it. And what these scammers do, they'll say, okay, I'll hold the apartment or the house for you. Just send me 1 month's rent. And, we'll do the paperwork afterwards. And of course, there's some sort, or maybe they'll ask it to be wired, and the money goes out, and that person to whom they sent the 1 month security is never found again. So please be wary of this. If it sounds too good to be true, it's probably not true. Like $800 for a 3-bedroom, 2 full bath. That's a scam. And they figured if I price it low, I'm going to get a lot of people say, yeah, I want that property. Hold it for me. I'll give you $800. I'll give you $1,000. Just hold it for me. And this is how they make their money. Do your due diligence. We live in a highly electronic world right now. Everything is online. It's making these scams more easy to create. It's a lot easier now with cut and paste and doing screen shots of photos of the interior of homes, and that's what they did to lure people to this property. So do your due diligence, on anything that you see, and never send your money out to an address that you never heard of before. There's no validation. Deal with a trusted advisor. That's the terminology that's always used in my blog posts. Deal with a trusted advisor. It's a very tough world out there, and there's a lot of people who want to take advantage of others. So let's go to today's topic: how to approach rising mortgage rates as a buyer. And let me just show my little preview. So if you've been really following the news, mortgage rates have gone over 5% right now. And I just want to close out my caption now so I can give you more room. Okay. And throughout the whole week, to the different news outlets that I subscribe to, there's been so many articles about rates going over 5%. Okay. And that's where it is right now. And we predicted it. It was pretty common knowledge that they would go up to try to put a curb on inflation. All right. And it may possibly work by putting this higher rate out there, because we see that the demand is falling a little bit. It's still a seller's market, but instead of a listing receiving 12 offers, they might have about 3 or 4. And the reason why, again, you're going to have less competition, because there's going to be a segment of society that's going to say, well, I'm only going to buy a house if I could get, a mortgage rate at 3%. Okay. I'll do it then. If not, I'll see what happens down the road. But if it's definitely at 3%, I'm in the market to buy. So as these rates go up, that segment that, they are not in need of buying a house. They would like to buy a house, but they do not have to. All right. They're not moving. They're not being transferred, for instance, to another military base. Okay. They're not on a transfer with their business uh, um, and decide to go to another. The ones who were buying a lot when the rates were low were people who said, okay, at that rate, I'll buy a new house. All right. So that segment of your pool of buyers are going to start leaving. And the ones who say, yeah, I need a house now. I'm not going to pay more in rent. I want to get out of out of this rental. I'm paying all this rent and I show nothing for it. Okay. So these are the ones. And again, if you're on a job transfer, if the military is transferring you somewhere else and you have to purchase, those are the ones that are in the mix right now. So with that, and again, what happens then, as there are less people there will be less competition bidding on a home. So that's actually good news for buyers out there. What's not such good news is that the rates are going up. Okay. And we're going to talk a little bit how to deal with that. And it's actually not in the post I'm going to show you now, but I threw together some things. So let's move down a little bit in my. Okay. So the average contract rate on the 30-year fixed rate mortgage increased to 5.2%, 20% or 5.2% in the week ended April 15th from 5.13% the week earlier, the MBA survey showed. It has risen 2 percentage points from 1 year ago. All right, so a year ago it was around 3.2. Might even been a little bit lower than that as well. Okay, so it really has gotten up. So the bulk of the run-up, however, has occurred since the start of the year, causing the fastest climb in home financing costs in decades as the Fed abandoned a cautious approach to raising its benchmark overnight lending rate in the favor of swifter and more decisive action to bring down the persistently high inflation. So again, when the little side note, when the Fed raises this lending rate, it doesn't directly affect mortgage rates. It's kind of a casualty of it. It's like collateral damage. All right. So That raising of the rate doesn't automatically raise the rent of the mortgage, but eventually it will. It kind of like complements each other. So, what's going to happen for our buyers? All right, and just a little bit of note here. What I have here in the yellow: mortgage rates play a significant role in your home search. As rates go up, they impact how much you'll pay in your monthly mortgage payment, which directly affects how much you can comfortably afford. All right. Not only that, not even comfortably, but as it goes up, let's say you've been looking at that this house is, that's $300,000. And when rates were at 3.2%, you were approved for it. But when now at 5.2%, you may no longer be eligible for that house. Okay. So that's a big thing you have to keep in mind as these rates go up. And again, we expect them to go up further this year. Now, what they're showing here in this graph, okay, let's see if I could just like draw a line around here. Try to be kind of fancy here. Okay, look at that. All right. So let's look at the lower amount of the rates. Let's say you're looking at a house. And let me go more around this end here. In Hampton, you probably will see, the most you probably will see would be 360. Okay. You go into York County and down to Virginia Beach, you're going to see more of these amounts. But let's take 360. So at 4.75%, your monthly mortgage rate is $1,878. But let's go up to 5.25, and now it's at $1,988. Okay, so that's $110 more. So as these rates go up, your monthly mortgage payment will go up. Now, let's say by the end of this year, we're at 5.75%. And now your monthly payment is at $2,101. But let's say your mortgage loan officer said, the most you could spend a year, I could approve you up to a mortgage that you pay $2,000 a month. Okay, so now this house at $360,000, it's out of your price range, and you can no longer get a mortgage for this house. Okay. Now there are things you could work around with that, and we're going to go over that today. And the purpose of this article, right? Instead of delaying your plans, today's rates should motivate you to purchase now before rates increase more. And that's super important, and I always say this with all my podcasts, and I'm going on now about 2 years of doing this, is that, as an agent, as a realtor, we always want you to buy now. We always want you to list now. You're never going to find an agent that's going to say, "Oh, just wait," wait. Because we want you to buy now. But honestly, in this situation, I have to say yes, because all indicators show that mortgage rates will continue to rise. Now, anything is possible. There's always something that could go wrong with our economy that it may not happen. Okay, but if everything is as it is now, right, and all the projections we have instead of a growing economy, then these rates will go up. If something happens, if for some instance we get into a war in the Ukraine and our economy changes, it shifts. There's more delays than in supplies. I mean, so many things could go wrong, right? There's always something that, it's like a wrench that's thrown into the wheels of commerce. But right now it looks like for sure that these rates will go up. So you should not wait. You should look now. Now, the same thing on the selling side, some sellers will say, hey, we still expect, home prices this year to go up another maybe 3 to 5%. Uh, Maybe I'll wait to the end of the year and I'll get a lot more money from my house. But look what happens, as the rates go up, and let's say we could price your house at 360,000. When that amount goes up to 2,158 for a monthly mortgage payment, that knocks out a lot of potential buyers for your house. Okay. So, yes, it's very possible you'll get more money for your house, but it may stay on the market longer. All right. You may have less buyers for it. So, there's a positive side and a negative side of everything. And you have to look at your own case scenario. What's going on in my life, or what do I need at this moment? What's best? If I wait to November, December to put on the market, would I be all right for 3 or 4 months of not having a sale? Let's say um, I bought another house and maybe I'm renting it out or whatever. Maybe I'm not renting it out. Let's say it's just vacant. Can I go another 3 months with that house being vacant? Um, or could I just, if I'm going to sell the house and I could have money in my pocket within 30 days, is that is is that the better scenario for myself? All right. So you really have to look at your own situation and what you need. I met with a buyer yesterday, and he wanted to put his house on the market, but buy he called it a stepping stone house, and then fix it up, and then buy a bigger house, years down the road that hopefully, and they won't again unless something bad happens, that home prices go down. They'll stabilize, but they're not going to go down as long as the economy stays strong. And I said, well, do you need to sell your house now to be eligible for a new home? He goes, no, I could buy a house now. He said, should I buy a house that has everything in it that I don't have to do any type of renovations? I said, well, in that case, I would say yes. What's with this stepping stone house and putting money into repairs, and money you had to pay for repairs, buy down your mortgage for a bigger house, and you're set. Okay. So you really have to look at it at a case by case scenario. All right. You, you know, in the example I just gave now, if you could wait till prices go up even higher and be able to go with your house on the market for 3 or 4 months, then maybe you would wait. All right. But I'd rather be in a situation where I have more potential buyers for my house than not having. When Henry Ford got into the car industry, prior to him going to the industry, cars were really, really expensive, and only the ones with money, right, your higher income, your upper class citizens, were able to afford cars. But he said we could make even more money if we go after the bigger pool of potential buyers. Okay, this represents going out to the potential buyers. Okay, we could make more money by reaching that demographic than just selling a fewer amount of cars at a higher price. But when he did the math on it, it was better to sell it to the more potential buyers out there. So again, you have to look at your own situation. Um, I wouldn't want to have a house to be on the market for 3 or 4 months, even though I could get a little bit more, because the income, if you're still paying a mortgage on that house and it's $2,000 a month, so it's 3 months on the market without any offers, and now you're $6,000 in the hole. All right, so uh, the $6,000 more that you could have gotten on the house eventually, you kind of lost it if you sold it earlier. All right. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to show first a little video on today's mortgage rates to kind of like put a summary on what I just talked about, and then I'm going to give you some points on how to prepare for today's mortgage rates. Okay, so that's a little reminder that let's talk now about buying before the rates go up even higher. But I put together this little video, and we're going to go over it. It's not even a video; it's just uh, what can I call it? A caption or whatever. But let's look at these items on how to better prepare for today's higher mortgage rates. All right. So there's a couple things you could do um, when dealing with the higher mortgage rates. Now you're able to buy down the rate. Of course, you have to put down more money, but speak to your loan officer. You might be able to bring it down a quarter of a point, a half a point. But again, you have to buy down that rate. So that's one way you could deal with these interest rates going up. The other thing you could do is put down a larger down payment. It doesn't change the rate, but the if you're not financing that much of the loan, right? The less you're financing, the less your monthly mortgage rate would be. Now, to really bring it down significantly, you really have to do a big chunk. It's like people who are bidding over 40% or like over $40,000 on an offer. Well, if you could take that 40,000 and put it as a down payment and have a lower monthly mortgage payment, that's even better. Hopefully, we're getting out of this crazy market where buyers have to bid so much higher over the asking price on the house. So if you could take that money and then put it towards your mortgage to right, instead of putting down 3.5%, you're putting down 40,000. All right, that's going to help. That will lower your monthly payment. All right. The other thing too, you can ask if there's any type of grants out there um, that will either help you with your down payment. And if you had some money saved for a down payment, but you get a grant, you could use that money to either pay down the rate or put it towards the principal, and hopefully your monthly mortgage goes down a little bit more. Um, you have to speak to your loan officer on that, because some loan officers have some grant programs, some, do, some don't. But a lot of times, like if you're buying a house in an area that's rural, there's a lot of country, there's a lot of trees, houses are not really close together. Sometimes you can get a grant for that, because the government wants these areas to be built up more economically. When more people go out there and buy, then businesses go out there. They start building shopping malls and strip malls, and parks are built, and hospitals are, so they want to build up that area, and they'll help you with your down payment. The other thing I have to say, and I've come across this quite a few times. I had one guy who, he went through a divorce, and what he always wanted was a big truck, a big pickup truck. And I don't know much. I'm from the city. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. You know, we want to have a Mustang. Well, that's even before my time. But a fancy looking sports car. Buddy from Brooklyn looked to buy a pickup truck. All right, but when you get into more suburban areas where I am, you have a lot of guys who love to have trucks. I would only buy a truck if I'm not a sportsman. I don't go out shooting, hunting. Uh, I've done fishing in my life, but I don't go like every weekend. So if I'm a really outdoorsman and I'm hunting and fishing, going into the mountains and climbing, and then I would get that. But I have no use for a pickup truck. All right, so. But he always wanted a pickup truck, and the monthly payment for it was like over $900. And we had to tell him, sell the car and get a less expensive car, and then we could get you approved. And I said, no, I want my truck. All right, so, and I've come across that before, where guys, they buy the most expensive cars, whatever. Some guys had brought their cars back, sold them back, or if you happen to have a higher rate and you could refinance it at a lower rate and have a smaller car payment, these are things. But you have to, you have to say in your life, I either, do I want a home or do I want a car? What's more important to me right now? Okay. Do I have to have a big fancy car? Or I could have an affordable car and then buy a house. All right. So those are some things that you could do. And of course, the last thing that it said in that little graphic, that if you can, buy now before the rates go up. All right. Because as I keep on saying, I had to say, let's put it this way, because, I don't want people to say, oh, Mr. G said rates are going to go up, and then, it's Christmas time, is at the same number, because you don't know, right? Something could happen. All right. We had the pandemic, we got through it, and then what happens? There's a war going on in Ukraine. Okay. And then we have problems with that. And no one predicts that. All right. But prior to that, the economy was growing, even with the pandemic, the economy is growing. We got to get more people back to work. We got to get our transportation lines working again, getting goods from the ships to the stores. We got to work on that. And if that increases and there's no other, wrenches in the wheels, these things will happen. The rates will go up and home prices will go up, but not as much as last year. Okay, last year they went up from 18 to 21%. This year we're looking at like 3 to 5%. So if you can, buy now. And of course, always contact me when you're ready to buy or you are ready to sell. Okay. And you just go, everything is real estate with Mr. G. My website where you could search and register is realestatewithmrg.com. And you could even click on the sell side there and find out your property value. And then you say, okay, let me call Mr. G. Let me email Mr. G. Let me text Mr. G. I want to list my house. Okay. And we'll get working on it. Toot sweet. All right. All right. I'm hearing from my producer, William, that we may have a special guest in the audience.
Yes, great news. We have a famous celebrity in the audience. He is a Spanish ventriloquist and comedian. His popularity grew with his frequent television appearances on CBS, The Ed Sullivan Show, during the 1950s and 1960s. Later, he became popular with another generation of fans on The Muppet Show. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Senior Wences.
Well, it was nice seeing him again. It really was. All right. So have a wonderful week. Enjoy the beautiful weather. We don't have to wear our mask anymore, which is good, unless you feel you need to. If you feel that you have different issues and you want to protect yourself, then wear it. Do not be ashamed. All right. I always recommend, get your shots. The second booster I personally have not done yet. I would rather wait till we get into the colder months where it seems to spread even more. It seems when you're outside with fresh air, it's better for you. And then so I'm going to wait on that. So I'm being honest with you, but I've had my 2 shots of my booster, and that's it for now. And be kind to each other, and remember, the greatest power we have is to love, and the greatest gift, each other. And I'll see you next week.